everybody, and welcome back to the Drive Pink Dialogue. It is Sunday, and Inter Miami is coming off a 5-1 beatdown in the New York Red Bulls. We're going to talk about it tonight. We watched the game back. We've prepared some awards, and I think we get to have some fun talking about what was an incredibly fun game to watch. But before all of that, I'm your host, Scotty. I'm here with my co-host, Saur. How are you feeling today, my man?
It's a lovely Sunday afternoon. I finished all my house chores, so I'm ready for the Sunday evening. And Inter Miami won 5-1. So this episode is going to be a lot of fun. I'm great. How are you?
I'll be honest, and maybe it's because of the dizzyingly impressive performance we saw last night. I've had a little bit of a brain fog today, and it's been hampering me. So keep that in mind when you see my awards today. I can't promise they're the best, but we will get there when we get there.
Mine are
Before we get
quite
into the game,
terrible
though,
too. So
before we get to the game, I wanted to do a couple updates from around the league. First, just a quick table update. Inter Miami has won a lot of their games and has seemingly been in fifth place the entire time. Uh, Still, after last night's set of games, Inter Miami in fifth place with 41 points. Cincinnati top of the table after a couple of results went their way. Nashville unable to get the victory. Cincinnati gets 3 points. They're first in the table with 48 points. So Inter Miami 3 games in hand, down 7 points. It's doable, but it's not like you're down 2 points with 3 games in hand. You got to win your games in hand to make that difference up. They have a big game coming up against that very Cincinnati team this weekend. And I will add, it's not just Cincinnati at the top of the table. Philadelphia and Nashville, I believe, are on 47 points. Columbus on 45 or 46. So it's not like they have to chase down one team. They're going to have to chase down a lot. So great win last night. Certainly more work to do. But with that said, I think this is going to be an overwhelmingly positive episode because they just beat the New York Red Bulls 5-1.
yeah, I think the top 5 in the league, in the East at least, are shaping up to be very competitive, and it's going to be razor thin margins. I'm excited for that. I like competition, and once Inter Miami plays those 3 extra games in hands, I think we'll figure out what the context actually is and where we should be aiming to finish. But right now, if you can win your 3 games in hand, you'll put yourself in a really good position. But I still think this is a lot more competitive than last season, where it felt like we could take a long lead over the teams behind us. But now it's different. You have to win every single game. And starting with the Red Bull game. So we did that.
Yeah, and it's not going to be easy, but what we have been saying is once you get past the Leagues Cup, the schedule gets much easier. You still got to win the games. You're going to play more games than everyone else. So you're going to have to deal with fatigue and all that stuff. But you're talking about the LA Galaxy, who are not very good. You're talking about DC United, Chicago, Seattle, DC twice, Toronto, New England Revolution, Atlanta. Like there is a lot of very winnable games in the back half of that schedule. So as long as you're in the hunt, you're in a great shape to make a run late. But you got to make sure you stay in the hunt. And I think they've done just enough to stay in the hunt with a huge game coming up this weekend. But along those lines, and this is just a sort of MLS related note, all these other teams are going to be getting better. The Columbus Crew are rumored to be getting a big name that we will talk about in a second. But Cincinnati, they're going to get healthier. They're going to probably bring in some pieces. Philadelphia, I know, has some openings in the DP spot after they sold Daniel Gazdag, and I think they already had another one available. So these teams are going to be reloading. Obviously, Inter Miami as well with Rodrigo de Paul and maybe a center back, etc. It's going to be tough, but if Inter Miami's in it, it's going to be a lot of fun. And then the big name that I was mentioning, Wessam Abu Ali, who we learned a lot about and talked a lot about heading into that Club World Cup. He's the star striker and I think the best player on that Al Ahly team. Lo and behold, he comes to the U.S. for a tournament and gets a transfer. It looks like the Columbus Crew are on the verge of making him their new star striker. And again, as we're talking about teams getting better, that is a player I think can do real damage in this league.
That's why I think the Club World Cup was so special. You looked at new teams and new players, and now Columbus is procuring one of the best strikers in our group. We did a lot of research into him, and I know you had a few things to say to Columbus fans about Abu Ali. phenomenal signing for them. He's a great player, does so many good things as a striker and a very well-rounded figure. Um, I'm excited to see him in the league, but I'll be less excited when he goes up against us. But good acquisition for Columbus.
Well, along those lines of the schedule getting easier, no more games against Columbus this season. Obviously, Cincinnati, we play them this weekend, but that will be our second game. We've already played Philadelphia twice. So, again, even though they make changes, we're not going to get a firsthand account of what some of these new additions look like on their new teams.
Playoffs.
But Wes Mabu Ali, a fun one because we already did a ton of sort of scouting on this player, and to see what he ends up looking like in this league will be, I think, very interesting. And then the last thing before we get into this game, the MLS All-Star break is this week. There are no midweek games for any MLS teams. And in fact, Wednesday night is the MLS All-Star game. For those that don't know, and I can understand why you wouldn't, Jordi Alba and Lionel Messi are Inter Miami's two stars for that game. There has been no report that either one will not play in that game. So if you're interested, that'll be available on Apple TV. It's Wednesday night. I kind of expect Messi and Jordi Alba to play the first half. For those that have watched in the past, they generally play an 11 in the first half. They play a different 11 from minute 45 to minute like 75, and then they get a few extra guys off the bench in those last 10, 15 minutes. They are playing the Liga MX All-Stars, so you might see some familiar faces on the other side as well. Does that excite you? Are you interested to see what Messi looks like? I think there's a lot of people thinking that's a terrible idea, and I think it could be kind of fun.
I don't normally follow the All-Star game. Last season as well, Messi was technically an all-star but didn't play because of his injury. I think Suárez did not play either because of his injury. If they play, I will definitely watch it, and I think it'll be really exciting. But if Messi and Alba don't actually get minutes or decide to sit that game out, then I'm not as interested in it. So it's all contingent on Inter Miami representation there. But it's still a fun Wednesday evening of good football.
This is too behind the scenes, but I think maybe we were thinking about recording on Wednesday night, and maybe we should turn that into a live watch along that we talk about Inter Miami during the game. If that's something you guys would be interested in, put it in the comment section below so that we can see if that would be fun for you guys. That's it. That's all I got. They're not participating in the skills challenge, which I think would also be kind of fun. But I think Messi will play. I think he'll play in the All-Star game. I think this is the kind of thing he wants to do. Like, I think he'll have fun. It's not like he's going to overexert himself. And it's only 45 minutes, so wouldn't surprise me.
And he'll be a good attraction.
Yeah.
Probably score a brace.
Okay. Anything else on your mind you want to talk about before we get into this game?
So should we talk about Rodrigo de Paul now? The designated 25 minutes. No, I'm ready to get into the game. It was an exciting game, so I'm looking forward to talking about it.
I think we reserve Rodrigo de Paul 25-minute conversations for when we lose 3-0. But when we win 5-1, I think we're excited to get into it. Not a great start to this game. Inter Miami on the road at the New York Bulls. That was a game last year that we got smacked 4-0. We were without Messi. It was in the pouring rain. Lawson Sunderland started that game. So you can kind of understand that wasn't a fully fit and firing team. But, that did happen last year. Not the case this time. Inter Miami with a slow start, but obviously comes back quickly. That slow start culminated in a 14th minute goal off a corner. Rocco, he goes for the punch. They kind of put it on his head. He does not get the punch. It kind of softly lands at the foot of Alexander Hack, and he kind of just redirects it in. And it was fully deserved. They dominated the first 14 minutes of the game, and they culminated that with a goal. They get a 1-0 lead. Is that how you saw it? Is that exactly how the game went? I mean, it looked really bad for the first 15 minutes, I think.
I think it was slightly longer than 15 minutes. After the 15-minute mark, Inter Miami started to get some possession. But for the first 15 minutes, I don't think we had a single forward touch in their half. We were completely bunkered down in our own half. And the biggest reason for that was because the defensive line was sitting very, very deep, even when we were in possession. So when Rocco would pass the ball out to Lujan and then Wegan, we were so far back that it was very easy for Red Bull to just completely press us and hold us in that small pocket of area within our own half. And we just struggled to get out of it. I wrote the word frantic when I was taking notes in the game, because it just felt like we had the ball, then we gave it back to them. Then we had another bad pass. We tried to get out, but then we gave it back to them. And they just kept coming and coming and coming. And they had a couple of opportunities in the first 2 minutes where I think Jordi Alba gave the ball away and they were able to get across into the box, but Rocco got to it. But it was a sign of what was coming. And they scored on a corner, but honestly, they could have scored an open play as well. That corner in itself was, it was bad. I don't even know if we should have a conversation about how Inter Miami can improve on set pieces, because it just seems like our Achilles heel at this point. But it didn't look good. It was very simple. We were sitting so far back that our passing out from the back just could not work with the press that Red Bull was putting on. Once they got that first goal, I think they took a bit of a step back. Then Inter Miami started to play on the front foot after that 15 minutes. And that's when you saw us being more dominant in possession, taking more touches on the ball. And that's when we started playing really well.
Yeah, I think when I was watching the game live, that first 15 minutes was so bad, it soured my mood for a lot of the game. And so even when we did the raw reaction, I was a little hesitant to get too high on the performance. Um, and I think on the rewatch, that was maybe a mistake. It was really bad 15 minutes, but the next 75 or 70 minutes, whenever they really got going, it was an absolute performance from Inter Miami. And so, what we've decided to do is block off 5 to 10 minutes in this episode for what I would call growth opportunities, because I don't think there's really much criticism to be given in a game that they won 5-1. So, if that's what you're looking for, we will have our growth opportunities section a little bit later. But until then, I'm just going to move on, because once Inter Miami got going, they were unstoppable. The first breakthrough comes in the 24th minute. It's unbelievable vision by Lionel Messi to spot Jordi making the run, put it past the back line. Sofo was not ready for that Jordi Alba run. He collects the ball sort of along that sideline, takes a touch, fires it into that top netting past Carlos Coronel, and just like that, Inter Miami back in the game.
I felt bad for Sofo because he fell into a false sense of comfort in the
Yeah.
first 15 minutes where Jordi Alba was just sitting in his own half. And honestly, I would love to have a conversation with Jordi Alba about it as to what triggered him finally going up that field. I don't want to give any spoilers, but I was thinking about giving Jordi Alba the "What are you doing there" award, because we haven't seen him in that part of the pitch in so long. And it happened once corner in this game in like the 20th minute where Messi tried to ping it over the Red Bull defense into Jordi Alba, who was making that run, didn't come off. And then the second time Messi tried it, he put it on the ground. What a beautiful assist. Absolutely stunning and out of nowhere. And Jordi Alba was ready for it. It was like he was saying to Javier Mascherano, listen, I've tried it your way. It's not working. Let me do my thing. And as soon as Jordi Alba pushed up, Red Bull now had to worry about that run in behind, and that's why they were constantly looking over their shoulder and not pressing as much. Because if Jordi Alba got free, he had all the space in the world to finish it off, as you could see with that goal. Well taken, beautiful shot. I think that was the first time that we actually had a Suárez, Messi, Alba triangle in months, and I loved it.
Yeah, well said. And you get it again about 2 minutes later. 27th minute, Messi puts the ball over the top to Jordi Alba. Jordi Alba, having already scored a goal, now in a perfect position to throw off the goalkeeper. This time he taps it over to Segovia, who gets the toe on it. Not a great attempt at a save from Carlos Coronel, but he's unable to make it anyways. Segovia puts in the back of the net. Inter Miami goes up 2-1, and it was like a rout from there. And I know that it was 3 minutes in terms of actual time, but you're talking about like 35 seconds of gameplay between goals because of the celebration from the first one. So Inter Miami, a minute and a half stretch of just beautiful soccer, and it was the same thing. Messi to Alba, let's create from there. And it's this pattern of play that we haven't seen enough of this season. And so when you see it, you think to yourself, man, this is what it's supposed to look like. And it was really, really fun and refreshing.
Somebody mentioned in the chat yesterday that it looked like Inter Miami was playing like their old self from last season. And absolutely, it felt like Inter Miami was in the same mode as they were under Tata Martino for those, I think, 10 minutes where we had those consistent patterns of play. It was just clockwork. Messi to inside, Messi to Alba, go. Suárez, Messi to Alba, another opportunity. So patterns of play, that's what we want to see. So positive, glad that we actually figured it out. And honestly, a dichotomy of two. One end, the worst that Inter Miami has played, and then on the other end, the best that Inter Miami has played. And I think it completely shows how we should play versus how we should never play again. And I hope Javier Mascherano uses this tape as an example of what they need to do and what they don't need to do.
Well, let's sit on this for a minute because I think that's a great way to put it. The first 15 minutes were as bad as it gets, and the next 15 minutes were as good as it gets. And I thought from that second goal on, the Rebels never looked like they were going to win this game, at least not for the rest of the first half. And it was a matter of guys getting high up the pitch. It's everything we've been saying. Let the guys do what they need to do with their own talents. Let Jordi Alba do what Jordi Alba does best. The difference in the first 15 minutes and the second 15 minutes was we were trying to play out of the back with our heels in our own box, and we were a disaster. Now, the Red Bulls did ease off a little bit after that, but all of a sudden, when Inter Miami starts trying to play on the front foot, you get Jordi Alba high up the pitch. You get Chelo Wigan making some runs. You get the midfielders, Federico Redondo, who we're going to get to in a second, was starting to ease up into that final third, into the edge of the box. And that was a difference-making type of positioning that really opened things up for Inter Miami. And it's like, why can't we see this all the time? But when you do see it, it's beautiful. And then I guess that leads us to that third goal. It's the third minute of stoppage time. And it is Redondo who is making that run, or not even a run, just casually moving forward, occupying empty spaces, providing another option and providing sort of a body there that can collect extra balls. And that's exactly what happened in this moment. It's a header into, I believe, Suárez. The defender gets a touch on it. It goes past them and it lands right at the feet of the entirely unoccupied Federico Redondo. Not able to get the shot off, but sort of playing with it in his feet, finally gets the ball to Segovia. Segovia puts it in the back of the net. And it's like that only happened because our defensive midfielder is in the opposition box. And that's the thing we haven't seen enough of this year is letting our guys get forward, because it's been such a, we have to be disciplined defensively. We have to be conservative, that our midfielders never sort of occupy those positions, even though they're fully capable of doing it, especially against a team like the New York Red Bulls. So, that third goal, Segovia with a really nice finish. Redondo, I think maybe you can be unimpressed with what he did with the ball in the box, but if he wasn't there in the first place to collect the loose ball, that play doesn't happen. Inter Miami goes into half 2-1, and maybe this is a different game with the Red Bulls getting a couple opportunities early in that second half. It's the idea that Jordi Alba getting forward, we start making plays. That midfielder getting forward, we start making plays. It's just what we've wanted to see so much of. And this team, basically in that 15th minute, decided whatever the game plan was, forget that. It's not working. We're going to go take care of this ourselves. And we have the talent to do exactly that.
Front foot offense. It was as simple as that. You were creating positive verticality with the ball, off the ball, and that changed the entire nature of the game. Red Bulls is a bit of a anomaly as an opposition because obviously they have that pressing style that they like to use. So perhaps the example isn't translated for other teams, but I think I'll try to translate it to other teams. So when you sit back, at least for the Red Bull case first, when you sit back that much, and you said it, I think, really well, we had our heels inside our own box. Red Bull style of play where they're pressing you, it just makes their life easier because A, they have to do less to push you back into your own half because you're already sitting there. And B, if they turn the ball over, they're in the most dangerous position to create those goal threatening opportunities. So that shouldn't have been the game plan against the Red Bulls to begin with, because you're just creating life difficult for your own self. And then if you use that in other games that we played against Cincinnati, that we played against New England, When you sit so far back, the distance that you have to cover to get to the other side of the pitch and create your own offense just increases exponentially. And this isn't a team that can go from defense to offense within the blink of an eye. This is it
with our
takes its
forwards.
time.
Yeah,
Exactly. And we're
not with
slow.
Messi and Suarez.
And that's why when you're playing other teams and you sit so far back, okay, you may be able to defend or play with the ball better because the opposition isn't pressing you. But then you're taking, I think, those 30 extra seconds to get the ball into your own, into the other opposition's half, get it to the final third, create an opportunity, which allows them to set up properly. So there was an entire case to be made about how the first 15 minutes of how we played was completely suicidal. And then I think against Cincinnati, we started off in a very similar manner. The difference was that the players in and around didn't go on that front foot. They continued to stick to the game plan of staying back. And that's why we weren't able to get anything against Cincinnati. Whereas against Red Bull, it just, as soon as we started bombing up the pitch, this team just looks completely different. You hunt for goals with this team, and you're just going to completely overwhelm the opposition. That's what you need to do.
And I keep using the words overwhelm, intimidate, and suffocate. And that's exactly what they did against the Red Bulls. And I love that third goal as a moment because there wasn't the beautiful assist, which can come at any time when you have Lionel Messi and Sergio Busquets on the field. But it was, for what this team doesn't do, it was exactly what they should be doing. Redondo picks up a loose ball in the box, in the opposition box, because he's there. And by the way, after he sort of struggles, guess who else is at the edge of the box waiting to put a shot on goal? Another midfielder that we've seen so rarely over the last several weeks and for much of this season, if we're being totally honest. It's not that it was Suarez and Messi and we're going to force feed it middle, force feed it centrally, and we're going to have those two guys just be spectacular. Of course, that's going to work sometimes, but if you really want to overwhelm teams, if you want to win 5-1, you need your other players getting involved. And if you do that, it doesn't matter if you give up a goal. It doesn't matter if Rocco misses a punch. It doesn't matter if you get beat 1-on-1 defensively sometimes, because you're going to score enough goals to overcome that. You put less pressure on your defense. You put less pressure on your goalkeepers. And by the way, everyone's having a lot more fun, players and fans alike. So that's what I would like to see more often. Getting into that second half, I thought the Red Bulls changed formation. They go to a back three. I thought they definitely had a couple moments where they could have gotten a goal. I didn't think they were particularly clinical in this game. Even the one goal they had, I thought was as much luck as anything else. They weren't able to get a goal to get themselves back in this game. And then Sergio Busquets says, "You can't be clinical. Well, watch this." Puts an incredible ball, maybe a 40-yard pass forward to Messi, who beats the offsides trap, gets a 1-on-1 with the keeper. Does a little, I don't want to call it a stutter step, but like a hip check to make it look like he's going to shoot, and then just lets the ball roll. And Carlos Coronel absolutely falls for it, and it's an easy tap in for Lionel Messi. We will talk about which assist was the best, but that one was certainly beautiful.
It was so simple, but so difficult to pull off. I know that's a that's a dichotomy in itself, but
When the vision and
Sergio Busquets,
confidence
yeah,
to try it.
Sergio Busquets just makes it look like it's the easiest pass in the world. The weight on it, by the way, the direction of it was brilliant. I think that's the longest through ball that I've ever seen, and it was inch perfect. And Messi juked even myself because he didn't even touch the ball after he took that first touch. He just kept going with it. And there's this thing I saw on the internet video of him doing the exact same thing for Barcelona, like the exact same goal, and transposed it with this Inter Miami goal as well. And he's done it before. It's like clockwork to him, but such an easy goal, but so beautiful to watch, poetic.
And from Busquets, like if you're compiling 25 best assists of his career, like that's going to be in it. That was
Probably not.
incredible.
He's got way too many that are just like
That was
that.
pretty nice, my friend. And then Inter Miami puts the game away for funsies in the 75th minute. Jordi Alba, by the way, I wanted to give Jordi Alba credit for this one. A lot of credit in the immediate aftermath went from Suarez for the pass to Messi in the box, just 3 inches over the defender's head. Messi easily able to pick it up or to sort of bring it down and then pick out that far corner. Um, there was a really nice pass from Jordi Alba to Kramaski, who's making that run that sets up the play. Kramaski ends up pushing it to Suárez, who then makes the pass to Messi for the goal. Again, Kramaski's made that run. He's being a forward option, and that's what presents opportunities for Jordi Alba to make a spectacular pass. It's what gives an outlet for Suárez to find a little bit of space so that he can get himself open, so that he can put in the pass to Messi. And now that you have all these bodies in the box and ball movement not involving Messi, you allow him to find his little spot to make sure he can be the game changer. So again, I thought this game showed us a lot of what we should be seeing more often, which is our midfielders attacking the opposition box, our midfielders being a part of the offense, not just relying on Suárez and Messi to be exceptional, letting Jordi Alba get forward and to be a real threat going forward. Because it's not that these guys just lost their talent the day Javier Mascherano got here. It's that the system has told them over and over again, you got to stay back. You got to be conservative. You got to make sure we don't give up a goal. Your primary responsibility is to make sure Mohamed Sofo doesn't score on us. It's like, well, actually, I can do a couple other things if I'm Jordi Alba. So it was great to see him do that, remind us all that he could do this on a relatively frequent basis if we let him. And I thought it was fun. 5-1 Inter Miami.
I'll actually take it one pass back where Cello had a really nice ball into Alba before Alba had a really nice ball into Kramaski. But I think the difference was that everyone was playing more positive and were trying to get the ball forward as quickly as possible, and were also putting the bodies forward. So there were options there. You said it, man. It was just this team is not built to defend and play negative. This team is not meant to stop the other team from scoring goals. This team is meant to dunk on the other team and score as many as they can on them, and then hope and pray they don't concede as many so that we can get the 3 points. But what a performance yesterday. I think this is the most fun I've had watching Inter Miami, in the ML at least, for a while. And it was all things good for 75 minutes, and I hope Javier Mascherano takes that on board.
Yeah. There was some nice moments in the last 25 minutes of the game. Messi has a chance for the hat trick on a free kick, and he puts it into the wall. And I was just thinking to myself, there is no chance he hits this because he's already got his 2 goals for the day. I thought Yannick Bright had a really positive 25 minutes. Ryan Morales gets an opportunity on the pitch. That was nice to see. And so really like a feel-good situation. And I think my brain in the first 15 minutes of the game got into a really sour mood. And I think in retrospect, it painted how I viewed the rest of the game. But upon rewatch, I thought they were really, really, really good for 70 plus minutes of this game. And if that's the case, like, I think that's something we'll take every game. You know, if you have a bad 15 minutes, that's okay. But have a good 70 minutes instead of having only 6 or 7 good minutes in the game.
And I think it's difficult to be overwhelmingly great over the course of 90 minutes. I don't think any team can do that unless you're Man City or PSG or Real Madrid or Barcelona. Inter Miami has its faults, so it's okay if we have some.
That
issues.
is what this team is.
That's what this team. That's what this team is trying to get to. I think we still need to. We still have a few pieces that make this team fall short of what that is. But I can forgive this team for not being dominant over 90 minutes. But I think if you have an overwhelmingly good performance like we did yesterday, we'll go home happy as fans. And you said it. Everyone has fun watching that style of football. Nobody wants to sit back and absorb pressure and win 2-1. Johan Cruyff said, right, I'd rather win 5-4 than 1-0. So why not do that?
The other thing is, if you score 5 goals, you don't have to worry about giving up 4 because the other team's going to quit, and you're going to build an intimidation factor, and their fans are going to get awfully quiet. And all of a sudden, you build your own aura that's going to help you in the next game. You're going to build a reputation. You're going to look scary. Opponents are going to think about you as if you're a juggernaut, and you're going to start to build a mental advantage. I think that's one of the other things that we haven't mentioned a ton, but is part of this. That you have Lionel Messi, you have Luis Suárez and Jordi Alba. The other team should not feel like they have a good chance to win a game when they step on the field with you. And that has not been the case because we haven't been exploiting those guys and their talents to the fullest. And so when those guys get in good form, the other team comes in thinking, I have to be perfect. And if I mess up once, I could really screw up everything. And once you give up a goal, you're like, oh no, the onslaught might be coming. And then you are sort of playing on your own back. You're not playing with your own full confidence. So it's like you add to the mental and intimidation factor that I think is really helpful for this team. And they don't try and generate that on a regular basis, which is frustrating because they clearly can.
Win the game even before ball is kicked by just psychologically dominating your opponents.
Okay, I do want to say the Red Bulls, I think, are like the perfect opponent for Inter Miami to do this to. We've seen them do it in the first game in South Florida. They won 4-0, 4-1 maybe a couple months ago. They played this 4-2-2. They played it in the first half last night. The way to beat that is to beat it on the wide parts of the pitch. And I think that's why Jordi Alba was thinking to himself, man, there's a lot of space here. Let me just go win this game for us. And that's exactly what he did. And then by the time you get to the second half, again, they switch to a back three. There's still space in behind, but all of a sudden they have to come out to try and recapture the game because you have a 3-1 lead because of what you did in the first half, and they leave themselves open. And then all of a sudden you can kind of blow the doors off of the game. I think the Red Bulls are uniquely susceptible to this Inter Miami team just because of their style of play. And I do want to make sure we mention that.
No, I said it earlier as well. I think the Red Bull is an anomaly in how they match up against Inter Miami, and not every team can do this. But there's still lessons to be learned from this game, and I think the positive style of play that we saw can be replicated against any opposition. So there's definitely some quirks about Red Bull, and it's slowly turning into Miami's favorite opponent. But you can apply the lessons to other teams as well.
Okay, let's spend 10 minutes talking about growth opportunities. I don't know. Well, we'll do the Heron that flew north, but I don't know if there's a ton of criticism to be given out, but certainly there's always opportunities for growth. And so when you win 5-1, you focus on the growth opportunities. There's a couple things I wanted to mention, and maybe you have a couple more. We don't know what the goalkeeping situation is going to be moving forward. Oscar Ustari hurt his hamstring, but they did not give us any sort of timeline or give us any idea of how severe that hamstring pull is. So is he going to be out for 6 weeks? Is he going to be out for, just one game? We're not sure. But if he's out for a while and Rocco's the guy, right? Him and if Ustari and Drake are out for a while, Rocco's short and he's not going to get any taller. And there's nothing you can do to make him any taller, or make his arms any longer, or make him jump any higher. So we saw it in this game. The very first thing they did was, we got a set piece. We're going to put it on his head, and we're just going to let all of our 6'4" guys be in the vicinity. And it worked spectacularly. Redondo, who is the guy responsible for holding Alexander Hack, you can tell in his face while this play's happening, he sees Rocco go for the punch. And so instead of trying to shove off the defender, because he just sort of lets it go because he doesn't want to risk getting a foul or anything, because he's so confident Rocco's about to punch this ball. And of course he misses, and Redondo watches this whole thing happen and thinks to himself, how in the world did that ball just get through? They need to figure that out because Rocco's not going to get any taller. So growth opportunity number one, set piece defense, specifically with Rocco in goal. You know exactly what the other team's going to do. They're going to put the ball on his head and make you defend it. That's something I think they need to be working on like all week.
They need to improve their set piece defense regardless of who's in goal, because Inter Miami is not particularly great at defending set pieces. But I think with Rocco, it's completely been exacerbated. You're absolutely right. It's just, he's not the most commanding in the box. I thought he was fine yesterday. He had a couple of good saves, but that goal was, I think, a mixture of Redondo and Rocco being overwhelmed by their big players. And you have to help your team, right? This is the only option that we have in goal right now. You probably could put Will Yarbrough on, but I think Rocco's ahead in the pecking order. And if
That's like
that's the
saying they
case,
could put Alan Obando on. It's like, what's the
yeah.
point in having that conversation?
But I
Ugh.
think you have to help your team out and help your goalkeeper out. If he has some vulnerabilities, you have to set them out for success. So you nailed it. I think going forward, going into that Cincinnati game, going into games against opponents where there's a heading threat or where there's a set piece threat, you have to help Rocco out, because otherwise he's just going to concede a goal.
Yeah, and it's specific to this goalkeeper. Like what you have to
Yeah.
do is different. Like I hear your point about them having to be better on set piece defense. They do. But what you need to improve is even specific to this goalkeeper. I think that's something they need to be spending a lot of time on this week. And it's not going to involve Messi or Jordi Alba. So it's a perfect opportunity to take advantage of those guys going to do the All-Star game. You can focus on getting better at set piece defense with Rocco and goal. Okay. This is just a pet peeve of mine, so I'm just going to mention it because it's our show. I think when you have a 5-1 lead, you should give the kids more of a chance.
Yeah.
Toto Aviles came on, and so did Fafa Pico late in the game, and I would have much rather have seen Leo Alfonso and David Ruiz and Ryan Saylor, because that's kind of the privilege you get if you win 5-1. He did put Santi Morales on, which I liked, but this is just a pet peeve and a personal philosophy of mine. I'd rather see Leo Alfonso than Fafa Pico in that moment. I don't think Fafa Pico gets a ton from being on there for 8 minutes, and I think Leo Alfonso feels like he's a part of the team, and I think that could be really good for his confidence moving forward. So it's not really criticism, but it is something I would have liked to see.
Has Leo Alfonso played any minutes this season?
Not in a long time, but he did play a little bit early on.
Okay. Yeah, it's surprising. I would have preferred that as well. I thought David Ruiz was definitely in for some minutes yesterday night, but looks like Javier Mascherano had a different plan. When you're winning that much, you should put on the kids, give them an opportunity. At least he put on Santi Morales, and maybe he thought to himself, that's the most I can do. Otherwise, we might concede a goal. But I genuinely think there was opportunity to have more players.
Okay, then the big topic is why didn't they start the game like this? The first 15 minutes I thought were a continuation of what we saw on Wednesday night. They really struggled to play out of the back. We talked about heels in their own box. The midfield was playing very conservatively. I mean, you're talking about Sergio Busquets being 5 yards outside his own box and Redondo as well. And so you are condensing the field in such a way, it becomes much easier to press and to create turnovers against you. Now, even if the Red Bulls weren't an ultra aggressive pressing team, it's still easy to defend when you're not creating a ton of space. And so when you have the technical caliber that this team has, not just from their stars, but from a lot of the players in this team, it's really weird that weird's the wrong word. It's really disappointing that you play a compact style. And as we saw, this team is capable of fireworks when you let them loose a little bit. So my question to you, and Anton puts it in the chat, who made the decision to push up? Was it Javier Mascherano or was it Jordi Alba? What do you think?
I think it was Jordi Alba. He saw the space that was in behind Sofo. He thought to himself, listen, this kid is not beating me offensively. He's not going to get behind me, and we're fine. We need to go out and score a goal. I'm going to utilize that space, try a couple of patterns and see if it works. Lo and behold, he tried it twice. It came off first time, it came off the second time, and that's when I think the whole strategy shifted internally within the team and the pitch, where they were like, okay, if we smother this Red Bull team by using that same pattern of play by pushing further up, they're struggling to contain us. So I thought it was a game time decision. I think it didn't come from the coaching staff, because the same thing happened against Cincinnati where we went down 1-0 and we continue to play that style. And I have a feeling that the team thought to itself that we can't go 2-0 down or 3-0 down again. We need to take this game to Red Bulls. And maybe this was a preemptive strategy and instruction from Javier Mascherano, where he said, listen, guys, if we concede early first, we're going to have to push up a little bit more. But I honestly think it was more a game time decision from Jordi Alba to see if they can create more opportunity.
Um, I think, well, let's just say I've certainly been underwhelmed by Javier Mascherano's job this year, but I don't want to get into a situation where we just credit the players for every good thing that happens and blame
Fair
the coach
enough.
for every bad thing that happens. So I do want to make sure we make that point. I will say Jordi Alba was on the opposite side of the coaching staff. So, like, if we're going to credit Jordi with being the real catalyst for change, it is sometimes hard to get your message across um, to the other side of the pitch. What's a loud and noisy environment, especially like it would have been right after the Red Bulls scored a goal. So I'm not saying it wasn't Javier Mascherano. Obviously, we'll never really know. Um, but Jordi Alba was a catalyst for change to start the game like that. And hopefully it was, something they were on the same page for and that we'll see moving forward, because I think that's going to be fundamental to opening up what Inter Miami can really be. And so when we're talking about adding Rodrigo de Paul and we're talking about adding maybe a center back and we're talking about getting Yannick Bright and Ian Frey and Noah Allen healthy, like, you're never going to be what you can fully be if you don't have Jordi Alba playing as the best attacking fullback in history or of the last decade, right? So, like, I think that has to be a staple of what we do. And when you get a 3-1 lead, okay, we can change things. But to start the game when it's 0-0, let him loose. Let him loose.
Let the kids play, man.
Let the 38-year-olds play. Yeah, totally. Okay. I think that's enough for our growth opportunities conversation. We will do Hair in That Flew North, but I think there's a lot of positive from this game moving to awards. Is there anything else on your mind about this game? Any other moments? I think there's some things to talk about with players, but we'll get into awards now. So is there anything else you wanted to mention?
No, I think we can get to the awards because I know we have a fair few interesting conversations to have.
Okay, guys, on this show, we give out 6 awards, a Heron in the Match, a Heron That Flew North, and 2 individual awards each. And in that, and because I'm a gentleman, Saur, I will let you go first for you. And for the Dry Pink Dialogue, who was your man of the match?
The catalyst of change we talked about, for me, it was Jordi Alba. He took the game by the scruff of its neck, decided enough is enough. I am going to go up, use the space, and finally, he got a goal. He got involved. He got an assist. It was relentless. The patterns of play looked brilliant. You can say Messi obviously is another candidate, very close second for me. But I think Jordi Alba, we haven't seen him do this exact pattern of play in so long that it's a sign. It's a representation of how this Inter Miami team is so overwhelmingly good when Jordi Alba gets involved. When he's not playing well, it almost feels like the team isn't playing well. And for the first time in a long while, I don't think Messi had to carry all the burden on his own shoulders because Jordi was like, listen, Leo, you've been doing it enough. It's my turn now. And I thought he was brilliant.
I agree with you. I know you could shout out Segovia and Messi for both getting a brace, but Jordi Alba with hugely impactful moments in a couple of goals, not just the one he scored. Um, for sort of behind the scenes look, we tell each other who's going to win the Heron of the Match and the Heron That Flew North beforehand, so that we don't try and think of awards names and creative ideas for those people just to save us time. Whereas we wouldn't know the individual awards that we'll get to. My sort of last night, I was sort of going to bed. I was thinking about this, and I was going to give Jordi Alba the Ode to Joy award because um, he's a joy to watch, but also when he's doing that, it feels like everyone's having fun, and
And
they're
he
just
was
like,
having fun as well, yeah.
not just him, but Messi and Suarez. Like, it just feels right from all of them, and it's obviously a joy to watch for the fans. And I thought the title was so good that I made it the thumbnail of the video, because he's a spectacular talent that is incredible at this one thing, which is getting really high up the field and being an absolute menace. And whether it's how he finishes from there, whether it's a pass or a finish like we saw early in this game, um, that's when he's having fun, and that's when he's at his best, and that's what he should be doing all the time. And that's when Inter Miami's at their best, and it's a joy to watch. And when Inter Miami's scoring 5 goals, the fans are happy, but also the players are having a lot of fun, and I think that's really important for this team and for what Inter Miami is right now.
Poor Sofo got completely schooled as to how to play as a left back. Jordi Alba was all over him, and he was great throughout the game. He had that pre-assist, I think, not pre-assist, the pre-assist to Ben Kramaski for that 5th goal. He was all over. He was doing all things good, and everything positive came from Jordi Alba. Listen, definitely an argument to be made that Messi deserves the Man of the Match award with his 2 contributions and goal, 2 assists, I believe. I think Jordi Alba also deserves for changing the nature of the game.
Mistiano says that Messi's getting Messi taxed again. I disagree with that on this one instance because Jordi Alba was the thing that changed. That's why Inter Miami went from terrible in the first 15 minutes to exceptional in the second 15 minutes because Jordi Alba decided he wanted to play soccer like he knows how to play soccer. So it's not just that he was involved in goals. It was that he was the catalyst for Inter Miami being a team that can score 5 goals on the Red Bulls.
Isn't it nice when we agree on things?
I don't know. Sometimes it's fun to fight.
Yeah.
Only about sports, though.
Yeah.
Okay. The heron that flew north in this game. Here's what I want to say. I think I had some mixed feelings about a real solid number of performances yesterday. And upon rewatch, I think I only had one that I came away really disappointed and negative about. So the heron that flew north for me was really easy, and it was Tadeo Allende. It's like he forgot how to play soccer. Honestly, it's not just that the touch is bad because the touch has really always been bad, but he's not really making runs in behind anymore. He's not trying to be a threat. And then when he is playing, he's like in his own half losing the ball. So I think it's time to give him a rest. Whether it's Fafa Picault, whether it's Rodrigo de Paul, whether it's Benjamin Kramaski, I think he needs to be given an opportunity to rest. We saw him against this Cincinnati team 4 days ago. It was not pretty. So I don't know. There's not a stylistic reason to keep him in the lineup. And I know he's making a good salary, but it's not like he's one of these superstars that just deserves to be in the starting lineup every single game. So, yeah, I have no defense for Allende's performance. It was just another real stinker from him.
He's not undroppable. And after that performance, I would definitely put him on the bench against Cincinnati. We talk about poor touch, but there were just so many instances yesterday where I was just like, dude, how a professional footballer and have the touch of a trampoline. It's insane. The ball just does not, the way the ball sticks to Messi as soon as he gets it, it just feels like the exact opposite end of the spectrum with Allende, because as soon as he touches the ball, it goes all the way back to the moon. And it's just really terrible to watch, especially when you're being completely pressed and put under pressure. You want somebody who can carry the ball a bit, take the ball at feet, have the ball stick to them, and just create opportunities by running in behind with the ball. And here we have Allende who just touches it and gives it back to Red Bull. And I thought he was terrible yesterday. I'm sorry. I don't want to be overly critical in a game that we won 5-1, but he gave nothing. And maybe he's tired. Maybe he's in a little bit of a funk. You need to rest him. You need to give him an opportunity off the bench, get his confidence back somehow, give someone else a chance, give Fafa Pico a run out, because Fafa Pico in 20 minutes did more than Allende did in the entire game. You're right. Allende used to be a little bit helpful in defense, would run in behind. He's not doing any of that. And sometimes it just feels like as soon as he's in a good spot, the ball comes into him, it bounces off him and goes back into the opportunity is lost. So not great yesterday, not great for the last 3-4 games, and needs to have a hard look at himself in the mirror, get that groove back.
Um, he, They tried playing out of the back against a heavy press, and so Allende is in his own half, where you need technical, quick feet, Rondo type
Exactly.
players, and that's not his role. That's not what he's good at. So if that's what you wanted to do, he shouldn't have been in the starting 11. And then the things he does do well, because I don't think he's a bad player.
No,
Um,
not at all.
he's not a well-rounded player, but that doesn't mean he's a bad player. But if you're going to have him on the field, make him do the things he's good at. Don't make him do the things he's bad at. And it feels like because we just start him every game and our style is not necessarily conducive to his talents, we're just asking him to play a role that he's not good at. And that's setting him up for failure. And there's no reason to do that because he's not Luis Suarez. Shouldn't set Luis Suarez up for failure either. But at least when it's Suarez, you can understand like this player does have magic moments in it. He does have a stature in the game. He is, a key piece of what you can be. Allende doesn't have that in his background or anything like that. So use him when it's appropriate and let Fafa play, let Kramaski play. Maybe Fafa's not even the right choice because maybe they are similar in terms of their style. But if you're going to play out of the back, use maybe a Kramaski or a David Ruiz out there, or certainly a Rodrigo de Paul or a Bright out there, because it's just not what Allende is good at. And now he's just lost all his confidence and he looks terrible. So I think he needs a game or two to come off the bench against
Yeah.
tired legs and sort of rebuild his confidence.
I think long term he'll be fine, but in the last few games he's been very bad. So give him some rest.
Okay, 2 individual awards each. Saur, what you got for me today?
The first award that I want to give is a Bird in Hand award.
A Bird in Hand award. A Bird in Hand award is something you take now instead of risking it for the bigger prize, because
You're
there's always
overthinking
2
it.
in the bush. Maybe I just given you too much credit here. The bird in the
Probably.
hand is Maxi Falcone because he has a bird and he touched his hair one time, and he's okay. I don't know what is it.
A Bird in Hand is worth 2 in the bush. And honestly, a player who's playing like he's worth 2 players right now is none other than the Brace King himself, Lionel Messi, who just keeps scoring 2 goals and then refuses to score a third. I couldn't think of a better award for him, but I wanted to recognize him because we don't give him too many special awards. We always end up giving him the Man of the Match award. And it's insane. The fact that he's scoring 2 goals every single game. How is that even? Is that someone look up the annals of football history? What's the record for the maximum number of braces? Because it's getting weird, man. It's getting weird. He had opportunities to score a hat trick as well, and he didn't take those. So I don't know what it is. But hey, this one player plays like he's playing for 2 players, and I'm just glad he plays for Inter Miami. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Needs to be recognized. And I think somebody mentioned this in the chat, but he now has the most number of non-penalty goals in the history of football. And his last goal came for Inter Miami.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I was going to give my first award to Messi too. He's a spectacular. I don't know what else to say. I think Jordi Alba would have gotten my hair in the match just because he was the catalyst for change. But once the game had changed, Messi was phenomenal. 2 goals, assist. Could have made it 3 if he wasn't locked into this brace mode right now. He's a phenomenon.
No, he's locked in, man. He's locked in.
Is he going to score a brace at the All-Star game in 20 minutes?
No. Don't score in the All-Star game. Score against Cincy. That's what we want. Don't waste your braces.
I don't know if he can help it, dude. I don't know if he can help it. All he does is score braces every single time he touches.
I should have given him the dentist award because he always scores a brace.
There you go. I will say, if we're opening up this conversation and going back to growth opportunities, I would have loved to see it come off in the 80th minute.
Yeah, like, absolutely.
Just the thing with Mascherano's rotation is when things are going bad, he has to play them because he needs to fix it when it's going bad. But then when things are going good, they're having so much fun, he doesn't want to take them off. So it's like they never get a rest. But you can understand wanting to watch Messi play 90 minutes because he's a phenomenon, man.
Yep.
Okay, I'm giving the. Okay, hold on. My first award was to Messi, so now I have to figure out what's next. I'm giving the Taxman Award.
The Taxman Award, because he came to collect the tax and it wasn't great for New York Red Bulls. Let me see. The Taxman. Well, it's definitely not the Messi tax. I think this award goes to Lujan because every time he plays for Inter Miami, I feel like it's tax season again. And you know what I hate most in the world is doing my taxes. So this award goes to Gonzalo Lujan because he's like a tax man who will ruin your afternoon. But yesterday he had a good game, I think.
Yeah, well, it's not for Lujan, so we can
Okay,
talk about him
damn.
later. Um, it goes to Yannick Bright
Ooh.
because two reasons. One, paying your taxes is inevitable. And it feels like when Yannick Bright's on the field, he is inevitable that he's going to have a big impact in the game. But also as a tax, he takes some of that possession from the other team. He comes and collects. He comes and collects. And I think that's my new favorite way to think about it. I've had this thing since last year where when he steals the ball, I just say, oh, there goes that man again. And I kind of forgot about it for the last 2 months. And then
Yeah.
it happened, and I just like instinctually said it in my head, and I thought to myself, "Oh, that was nice. I missed that for the last couple of weeks." Um, I think Redondo had a fine game. I thought Kramaski had a fine game. Uh, he's Yannick Bright's a better player than them, and I think when you watch him for 25 minutes, you can see. I think we have tremendous feelings about Telasco Segovia. We have really impressed feelings with a lot of player team that aren't just the Barca Four. I still think Yannick Bright might be the best out of anyone. Um, he wins possession like nobody's business. He collects. There's no escape, just like the taxman. Um, so I thought Yannick Bright was great to see him back, and I want to have this conversation into something about what comes next. But first, what did you think of his performance?
But he's just so much more than collecting either, right? He does just
Well, the,
doesn't do just that. He does so much more. And his collecting, as you very rightly mentioned, is the most important aspect of his game. But there's so many layers that he's adding to it. I think he's really improved with his verticality as well. I sort of forgot how good he has become with just passing the ball through the lines. His positioning is just above and beyond anything we have in the middle of the park. I'm sure once Rodrigo de Paul comes, it's going to be probably even better. But when Yannick Bright's on the pitch, the gaps are just not there anymore for the opposition to exploit. He is such a fine player. And I think to just label him as a destroyer, as a disruptor, is sort of and I'm not saying you're doing that, but I think a lot of people seem to just categorize him, pigeonhole him as this number six destroyer who just disrupts everything in the middle. I think he's getting more and more well rounded as a midfielder, and I love the evolution. He needs to now get a stretch of games, and I hope Javier Mascherano plays him against Cincinnati because that will be a world of a difference. And we may actually be able to get a result if Yannick Bright is in that middle.
he's the best one. So, um, when we think about Rodrigo de Paul coming into this team, I think the initial instinct, like if I asked Taylor Twellman, where's Rodrigo de Paul play? Taylor Twellman would say he's going to start right next to Sergio Busquets. And I think about the wide players on this team. I think about Tadeo Allende. I think about Maxi Falcone and Lujan and Aviles and Cello. And I think to myself, like, Yannick Bright is better than all of those players. And it would be an incredible shame if Yannick Bright gets sidelined for much of the season because Rodrigo de Paul came in, because all of a sudden you're sitting one of your best players. One of the reasons we saw Diego Gomez play so much left wing last year is because Tata realized, I have to get this kid Yannick Bright on the field. He's too good. And yet, I think Javier Mascherano is going to leave him on the bench for the next 4 months because he's going to give Rodrigo de Paul that central midfield spot. And while I'm not arguing that's not, like, I think that probably is where Rodrigo de Paul fits best, I don't know if you're really doing your entire starting 11 justice. So I think there's real conversations to be had about either the formation or what we're really willing to do with these players. Um, because I think Yannick Bright's got to play in that midfield. And like if it was me, I would start experimenting with Busquets on the back line. I'd experiment with a 3-man midfield. I think if you can get a midfield that's 3 people and none of them are Busquets, you're talking about a midfield that could really dominate this league, make it easier for you both offensively and defensively. I don't know if I trust Javier Mascherano to experiment in those ways, but the 4-4-2 I don't think is going to get the best out of what this team is when Rodrigo de Paul gets here.
No, I think you put out a graphic with the 3-man backline with Busquets in the backline. I think I really like that, but I've also been thinking maybe a 4-2-2-2 with a 4-man backline, 2 with Busquets and Bright, and then the 2/8s with Segovia and Rodrigo de Paul. That can still be like a 4-4-2 wide player midfield with Segovia and Rodrigo de Paul as the 2 wider midfielders. There's just so many ways, but I think if you want to set aside your best 11 and you want to put the best 11 on the pitch, Yannick Bright has to be on it. Has to be on it. We can have a whole conversation about what that would look like, but he's just too invaluable for this team. And honestly, if we play a couple of games without Busquets in the middle and have a Segovia, Rodrigo de Paul, and Yannick Bright midfield, I think that's going to be phenomenal.
And I think that's
good award.
I think that's where I'm at with it too, is if you can give me that trio in the midfield, Busquets has to play somewhere because he's Sergio Busquets and he will. But if you can give me that trio in the midfield, you're going to dominate midfields. You're going to make it very difficult for the opposition to progress the ball. You're going to keep your own back line safe. You're going to keep your goalkeeper safe. And you're going to provide more opportunities for your front line to be impactful, whether it's Busquets, whether it's Alba, whether it's Messi, whether it's Suárez, whether it's, Allende or whoever. I think they need to find a way to make that the trio. And I think the best way to do that is to move Busquets into the back line. And we've seen Busquets do it. Like it's not like he's an embarrassment back there. He can handle that position. And if you put a dominant midfield, like we just talked about with De Paul and Busquets and Yannick in front of them, like they're going to have tremendous protection. You're going to win a ton of balls in the midfield before it even gets to that back line. You're adding more height, size, and physicality in the box, which will help set piece defense. I think there's a real world where Javier Mascherano forcing Yannick Bright into this lineup could fix a lot of our midfield and defensive issues if he's brave enough to do it. And so I don't know, like maybe not game one. Like any coach, I can give them the benefit of the doubt. It could take them 2 or 3 games to sort of figure out how to use a player best. But I think we need to be at the end of the Leagues Cup thinking Yannick Bright and Rodrigo de Paul are fitting into this lineup together. We need to figure out how to make that work. And whether that means Allende comes out, whether it means a Redondo or a Cello or a Lujan or whatever, like whoever has to come out to make that happen, I think that's how you get your best 11 on the field.
Agreed. Okay, my final award.
Okay, what is your final award?
I'm going to give the Written by Dickens award. And I'll be honest, I think I should have gone with someone else, but it's okay.
Written by Dickens. It's Charles Dickens. Is this a Tale of Two Halves award?
No. Tale of Two Cities, Tale of Two Halves. But it is a book by Charles Dickens.
Is it of Mice and Men? No, that's Steinbeck. Mm-hmm. He has 2 very famous books, and I cannot remember the second one off the top of my head.
He has a fair few good books, not just two.
He's got 2 ultra famous books, and I can't remember the second one off the top of my head. Okay, I'm going to give it to Telasco Segovia because the way he moves and operates on this team in this field on the field right now is like high quality literature, but also kind of hard to read sometimes. But whatever.
No, this award goes to Luis Suarez because Charles Dickens wrote his very famous book called Great Expectations. And that's a book about the burden of expectations. And Luis Suarez had such high standards last season that I think his own expectations have become his worst enemy. yesterday he proved to everyone that the ability is still there. Maybe he's not able to produce the same numbers. Maybe he's not able to produce the same goals. But our expectations of him need to be slightly altered compared to last season. And I know this may not be a novel conversation. We've already talked about it a fair few times. So we can keep this short and then go to your award and talk about um, other players. But I think Luis Suarez has become in he's become a prisoner of his own expectations. And I think we need to understand that this is a still there's still a player here and he still contributes. And I just want to say I recognize that I've been the biggest detractor of Luis Suarez. So after yesterday's performance, I want to be the first one to recognize it. And I want to be the first one to recognize him. So that's why this award goes to Luis Suarez.
There was a moment in the 68th minute where he has a really nice shot, and it's a really nice save by Coronel. If he had scored that, we'd be talking about how he had an excellent game.
Yeah.
Right? An assist, a goal, part of the buildup. And I think this is what I tried to say last week is if you start getting guys around the box, he starts having guys to work with and play off of, you're going to start seeing the quality come back. And if he has to play at the halfway line because we're playing with our heels in our own box, and you're asking him to be the major dominant force on the entire other half of the field, you're asking him to do things that he's not capable of doing. And he is going to, A, look bad, but B, he's going to start to lose confidence. And then he is actually going to start playing poorly. If you, I just so strongly believe this. If you start getting Jordi Alba high up the pitch more often, if you start having Kramaski and Redondo sort of edging towards the edge of the box, you start having more guys to facilitate and operate around, Luis Suarez is going to start looking really good. So if you want to lower your expectations, that's fine. I'm happy to get there with you, but mine are lower because of the way we're playing, not because I think Luis Suarez is a dramatically worse player.
And it's not necessarily about lowering your expectations, but just recognizing what he did last season was insane. And maybe it's not fair for us to expect him to do the exact same thing last season, especially under the new coach, under a new structure. So probably he can replicate some of those numbers if given the right environment to thrive in. But just the reality is that it's hard for him to get the same number of goals in the conservative system we play. So
yeah, I agree with that. He won't have the same numbers for sure. Cynical says, did you guys give props to Luhan yet? Why don't you just wait about 20 more seconds? Saur, my final award is the T&DG Award.
the T&DG Award. Huh. What's the acronym stand for?
If I say it, it will give the award away.
The T&DG Award obviously goes to Telasco Segovia. I don't know why, but I think you wanted to give him an award. So I'm going to play the game and preempt this award, not for what the award is.
I tried to throw you off there with Cynical's comment about Gonzalo Lujan.
I know.
It's absolutely Telasco Segovia because he's the next Diego Gomez. He's not the same style of player, but the very day the news broke that we were getting Telasco Segovia, we recognized this is the impact U22 midfielder that's going to replace the production of Diego Gomez. He's a superstar, man. He's so good. I think as soon as they figured out how to use him and as soon as he figured out how to work with the rest of the team, his talent has just shown. It has only gotten better. 2 more goals in this game. And as we talk about him, as we talk about getting other guys involved in the offense, he's the one guy I'm nervous to say this about because I do think he plays best when there's distance between him and Messi. But when you start getting other guys involved, then the room opens up for him to make those late runs and be a real threat. He's now got 6 goals in the MLS, maybe 7 in all competitions. So if he finishes this season with double-digit goals as a midfielder, like he's going to be the next guy we brought in for super cheap. That was a hugely impactful player in the midfield, but also he's going to get sold for 20 million to La Liga or whatever. So I just wanted to recognize him because A, had a brace and it was awesome. But B, this guy's a star. He's so good.
I was
and we
also
were right
thinking
about him from
giving
day
him an
one.
award. No, I wanted to give him an award as well, but I thought like there's no conversation that would be new to this, so I decided against it. But glad you decided to choose him. Um, I was thinking about this when I was rewatching the game, and I was considering if we ever do a draft again soon, I think spoiler, I would pick him as my fifth, maybe even slightly higher. His growth has been exponential over the last few months. His impact has been exponential, and he's one of the players that, despite Javier Mascherano's shackles, has really come into his own to the point that I wouldn't be surprised if a bid comes for him this summer and he decides to take it. I don't think it will, but I won't be surprised. I think he's ready, man. He's ready for that next step.
Oh
He's
yeah,
just getting the work going, getting involved, having an impact in such a nice way. His confidence is something that I'm very impressed with every single time. I think this is a player that's going to shine being the center of attention of a team. He just loves to take the ball in his own feet and then make it work from there. He just loves to have that responsibility. And it's good to have a player like that because he doesn't lose the ball often. He finds the right pass as well, keeps things ticking along, and then he finishes off with aplomb. That was a great finish yesterday. The first one he got lucky with, the second one was brilliant. This is just a phenomenal player, and I think he is our next Diego Gomez in terms of the prospect that we have of selling him to a big club. He's the one in line.
definitely. We were able to build this roster in part because we got a ton of money from Brighton and we converted a lot of it to GAM, and that's going to be him next, in January or maybe next summer. Um, okay, a couple other players that probably deserve to be talked about. Let's start with Gonzalo Lujan because Cynical is mentioning him in the chat. I counted it today when I rewatched the game. He had 3 straight touches that were turnovers. It was part of his
7 in
first
total.
7 turnovers in total. It was part of this 15-minute period. Everyone was really struggling. So I don't want to crucify him for being bad when everyone else was bad. Um, he was fine. Like if this is what every performance was like, we would be okay with it.
Yeah.
I don't think it was anything nice or special or good or worthy of an award, but it wasn't bad. And he has done a lot of like being responsible for a goal a game, given up. And this wasn't. So kudos to him. I think he looked a little bit faster than I remember. So maybe there's something. I don't know. Certainly,
No,
I don't think he's as good as Totavilas, but
that was a perfectly workable performance. No
yeah,
complaints from my side.
it was very
Average
believable.
to the T. Very believable. And you said it, not deserving a conversation, which is exactly what we want from Gonzalo Lu.
Yeah, that's fair.
So there you go.
Maxi Falcone, I thought was better the second time I watched it. He did cover for Jordi Alba, and we did not talk about this on the Raw reaction, but he did a good job of covering for Jordi Alba, especially against Sofo when Mohamed Sofo was making runs the other direction. I wasn't particularly impressed with Cello on my rewatch.
He
Actually,
was
I thought it
fine.
was fine. He did get turned one time by Raheem Edwards, and just because that's happened so many games in a row, I kind of made a mental note. But it was certainly a big improvement over what we've seen from him over the last couple games. So
He wasn't
I'm
opening the
happy with that.
floodgates for their offense to take
Correct.
charge, so that was good.
Correct.
Sorry, Falcone, I think was good. No complaints from my side. I thought he had a solid performance, but I think the stars of the show were the front four. I had an award for Redondo, and honestly, I want to share that award because I put in a lot of effort into it. I gave him the Waluigi award, and I asked you if you know who Waluigi is, and I went online and checked his character description, and tell me if this reminds you of Redondo or not. Quote: chaotic, unnecessary, and weirdly effective for like 8 seconds. Close quote. That for me describes Redondo's performance perfectly yesterday. There were instances where I was like, okay, he made that work, but then I was just thinking to myself, what are you doing with that ball? Had a fair few losses in the ball. Um, but yeah, he had a Waluigi level of performance where I was thinking to myself, I don't know if this is good. This worked in a couple of instances. He helped set up that goal for Segovia. but it wasn't the best.
Yeah, I don't. It was fine. It was fine. But he was clearly involved in that third goal, and like I said, him getting forward and like him being there made that possible. And I get you can say like he wasn't great in terms of getting a shot off, and he was a little hesitant, and it wasn't great at his feet. But if he wasn't in the box, he wouldn't have collected the loose balls in the first place that started the whole play. So
Well,
um,
I
maybe
have
that's your
thoughts
8
on that
seconds.
because I think like he got a little lucky, and his best contribution to that goal was getting out of the way of Segovia. He just ran straight. He was like, "I'm not getting involved in this."
No,
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 but you're right. You're right.
I
He
agree
made the
with
run.
you that it's a second ball that comes straight to him. But again, we've seen so many times this year where that defensive midfielder is back at the
Yeah,
halfway
just
line
yeah.
instead of in the box. So, like, I want to give him credit for getting being a part of that. Um, and he gets an assist. So, but I don't know if I would consider it a particularly impressive assist. I thought his overall performance was fine. Busquets, I thought was also just fine. He had a pretty bad turnover in that first 15-minute period. He didn't look like he was handling it particularly well either, but I mean, then you make it up for it. You make up for it with that beautiful assist. You're A-okay in my book. And then the last guy I think we should talk about is Rocco. Um, he didn't look particularly confident, in my opinion.
Which is okay. It's his
Like,
first game after a
I guess my
while.
question is, at what point do we start judging him as a third string goalkeeper? In which case, I thought it was fine.
Yeah.
And what point do we start judging him as the starting goalkeeper? Because if that was the only game he starts, I'm happy to say, Rocco, fist bump, we're good to go. If he's going to start the next 6 games, maybe we should start to be a little bit more dissective in how we look at his performances.
But
And
that's
so maybe
slightly
that's
unfair,
just,
though, isn't it? Because he's been brought in as a third choice goalkeeper. They didn't necessarily think that he was going to play that many games. So his ability will be that. He's not immediately going to transform overnight into a first choice keeper or have the same skills as Drake Callender or Starry. So I think it's slightly unfair to judge him as a first choice goalkeeper, even if he plays an extended run of games. I think he's still developing as a goalkeeper. There's a lot that he can bring to his game. He was fine yesterday. I think he did well, especially in this first 15 minutes, apart from conceding that goal, where I don't think he was deterred too much by their press, and he played well with the ball at his feet. Distribution was good. I didn't feel jittery whenever he got the ball, which is great. Uh, but he can develop. But I think our expectations of him need to be okay. This is a third choice goalkeeper playing goal.
okay, I can buy that.
Yeah.
Um, I'm just looking at the ratings on SofaScore, and I see Messi got a 9.9. Not a surprise, but clearly the best on the team. Finishes with 2 goals and an assist. That was a lot of fun. It was a fun game. It was fun to talk about it after. It's fun to watch after the first 15 minutes. It's fun to talk about now. I think this team is capable of doing this semi regularly. And it's not because they have to play out of their minds. Like Jordi Alba played like a pretty typical Jordi Alba game from what we saw in the first year and a half of him. I mean, the execution I think was on the higher end, but it wasn't like he was doing crazy things. Lionel Messi didn't do anything that we haven't seen plenty of times before over the last 7 games. Um, and then everyone else was just like good enough and fine. And Segovia was good, and Suarez was good, and like the role players were fine, other than maybe Allende. So it's like you can be just fine. You don't need everyone to be a superstar. You just need your superstars to be superstars, and you
It
can
was just
dominate
a
opponents.
it was a good collective performance. Like Messi didn't have to carry the burden.
But
Alba
it
Alba
wasn't
had
like
too much burden.
it wasn't like a spectacular performance.
Yeah, it was
Like
an
it was
everyday
repeatable. It was
performance that Inter
repeatable.
Miami used to
It
put
was repeatable.
in. Yeah, last season we used to put these performances over a stretch of like 5-6 games. Um, that was good. That was a great game. I enjoyed this episode as well because, of course, when it's positive and fun, we enjoy it. So hopefully we can have a similar performance against Cincinnati, but one game at a time. Like,
Yeah. Speaking of Cincinnati, what I will say is last year we went to Cincinnati, and now listen, we're missing a bunch of guys with injury, rotating a little bit. We lost 6-1. A little bit more understandable because of the injuries and rotation than what happened last Wednesday. But then we came back um, after a break and we played Cincinnati at home, and they looked lifeless, and we kind of cruised to a 2-0 victory. So you now have confidence, and you're now going to be at home. I think they can. I think they should be able to. Like, I think we should go into that game thinking they should win. It's a home game, one of the best and most talented teams in the league. I don't think we should let them off the hook because of this 5-1 win, but it was certainly a lot of fun to watch it when it was happening.
Exactly. Since he's going to be another challenge again, I think we're up for it. At home, we have no excuse to lose. Let's see what Inter Miami shows up.
Last thing I did want to mention, no excuse for being tired. They
1
used
week
being
break.
tired as an excuse. Well, they used being tired as an excuse on Wednesday against Cincinnati, and then they seemed to be totally fine 3 days later when they played the New York Red Bulls, also on the road, and they didn't seem too tired. Okay, we will be back tomorrow, actually. We have a guest coming on, and not a super special guest, but I'm sure we'll call him special when he comes on. We'll have a debate about what Inter Miami's season looks like at the halfway point. We'll probably do something in the middle of the week. But as far as Inter Miami's concerned, it's the All-Star break, so we will not be back for any sort of game activities until next Saturday when they play that big Cincinnati game. And by the way, Rodrigo de Paul's coming. By the way, the Leagues Cup's right around the corner. So fun times ahead. This is our little mid-season break, right? All-Star break.
Yeah, just about. Maybe the national break's going to be that. But hey, look what a 5-1 win can do to the mood, right? We were all doom and gloom last week, and now we're up and ready to go fight for the team. It's all fun and games now.
It's always been all fun and games, and I hope that's important to remember. But guys, we'll be back soon. Thank you so much for joining us. Please get your thoughts on doing a live stream of the All-Star game or just like a normal Inter Miami conversation, because I think we're going to do something on Wednesday. Let us know in the comment section. But other than that, we will see you guys soon. Enjoy your evening. Enjoy this win. And let's go Herons. Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in. Do us a favor and hit that like and subscribe button. Since our first viewer, sharing this with you all has been the very best part. So from the beginning until the end, thank you for being a part of this and have a wonderful day.